What's up, fam? It's Jaeger, and I'm going to give you, finally, my input on Void. So welcome to Talk of Titans Void Edition. Now, I've actually been on vacation when all of the news about Void came out, and I was following it closely, and I had my ear kind of close to the chats, listening and seeing all of the knee-jerk reactions that players have been posting and in a number of different communities. So I'm not going to say the word everybody is necessarily feeling the same, but I do want to pick on a few specific things that have come up since we've heard about Void and give you my own personal opinion. And we all know what opinions are like and how they can be. So take this however you wish, but this is my opinion on Void and why I think some people in the communities need to just settle down. So I'm going to run you through 3 different points that relate to Void and its release and what it means to the game and why everybody needs to be super chill about this. Now, Void is here. People, this is not a surprise. We have known that new content is coming. We have asked for it a number of times, but we have the habit of asking for something and then not being happy when we actually get it. Now, with this, we've been told months ago that even new troops are coming. Now, this new troop is a bit of a variant, but when they released Storm Maidens, Matt was on the live stream and someone asked, does this mean more troops will be introduced? And he said, yes. Storm Maidens are introduced at 14, and we already have a plan for a troop we want to introduce at level 16, which, if you have max barracks and max armory, that is where you will get the skeleton horde, as they're calling it, or the horde for right now. They will come in at level 16. Now, there's a whole nother topic there I want to talk about later, but people, you need to just kind of maybe pay attention to some more of those details. If you're shocked and surprised that Void is here in Dawn of Titans, then you're not paying close enough attention. Now, let's talk about one specific point with Void and what I heard a lot of people saying. Again, not everyone, just a lot. Void is going to break the game. Void is going to break defenses. Void is going to make etc., etc., etc. Void is going to do nothing except make the game something to pursue again. A new element, a new tactic to build up, and a new tactic to defend against. I will talk about defense in a minute. But when it comes to your garrison and how easily people will be able to raid it, not a single thing is changed by the introduction of Void. People are already smoking defenses, and not to get too deep, this is going to be something I'm going to save for a whole nother video that I'm going to be doing hopefully very soon, but nobody wants impenetrable defenses. Void does not make a defense any less or more impenetrable, nor does it mean that people are just going to bulldoze you because it's an element. We already have a number of relics that offer all elemental resist. Void is nothing different here. Not to mention that just because it's a Void element doesn't mean that it's going to change the fact that it's either a melee or range type of attack. So keep in mind, Void is not going to break the game, and it is not going to break what you've done in defense, and it is not going to make every other Titan prior to this completely useless. It is going to give you something to pursue, and it is going to give you something to have to think about when you attack a little bit more. Now, speaking of all elemental resists, people, stop asking for this. Number 1, we already have enough of it in the game. Number 2, it doesn't matter that we now have 7 elements and only 6 relic slots. I don't understand exactly what you're thinking, to be honest, but who wants a defense that has everything completely covered? Do you really want to play a game where you have a higher risk of losing and risk cost of portal stones, the gems that you're using to maybe refresh those if you're in a war? I understand we want defenses that can withstand an attack, but we don't want to be losing constantly or struggling constantly. If anything, that will demotivate a player more. Not only that, but if we have 7 relic slots and we end up with all elemental resists across the board with 40%, even 20% in 6 relic slots existing, that's 120% elemental resistance. Now, keep in mind, yes, the cap is 90%, but that means that you'll have full-blown resist to those elements at max with only 6 all-elemental resist relics. In my opinion, that should be taboo. At no point in time should a defense be able to actually defend against everything. That's kind of the point of what makes war games. It's finding and exploiting the holes in your enemies. If there are none, then it's a matter of just pure brute strength, which is fine to a point, but it doesn't need to be every point of every battle. There needs to be weaknesses to exploit. That is what makes this a strategy game. Lose the strategy, lose the game. Plus, the whole point of having Titan collections is to be able to select the appropriate attacker and or defender when needed. If someone's beating you with a certain element, you swap your defender. That's the strategy. If you can't beat someone with a certain element, you swap your attacker. That's the strategy. Let's make sure we focus on the strategy of this game. But I want to talk more about how strategy is lacking and what we can do with it, hopefully in the future, in another video. So again, stay tuned for another breakdown video of what I think Dawn of Titans needs. And finally, as it relates to Void, is the idea of the new troop. Yet again, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. However, the bad thing about them is they don't come with their own building. Why do we have a troop being introduced that doesn't have a specific building to go with it? It is breaking the common thread that makes troops troops, right? If we're going to have Titans that could do void damage and we have a troop that does void damage, but it's also not quite the skeleton spell, but it is, they should have a building, period. That is the only downfall that I see personally with a new troop, is new troops are good. And I'll say it right now. This is not going to be the last troop we ever see in Dawn of Titans, right? There's 25 castle levels. They only have troops that are introduced up to 16 right now. Guarantee there's more coming, people. I'll put a stamp on that. The big issue is we have lots of land in our castle that for some reason the devs are not thinking to use. It's not like we're running out of space on where we can build these buildings. We got plenty of it. Even without that additional 4th land slot, we still have room to fit buildings, but we have an entire land slot to use. They're not introducing any more decorative buildings because the Eternal Shrine was a bust, right? Let's talk about how that needs to be revisited. But the big thing is we've got the room to add more troop buildings. That is the big taboo here, is new troop, no new building. That, I think, is a lack of consideration and thought by the devs on that one. That's the only bad thing that I honestly have to say about Void. That's my opinion. That's my take on Void. I want to know yours because I know it's probably going to conflict with mine, and mine conflicts with yours, or you might agree. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts on Void? I have yet to begin collecting that feedback and kind of offering my take on each, or hearing yours in more in depth. So comment down below, what are your thoughts on Void? Where do you stand on it? Catch me on the next video. I'm Jaeger, and I'm signing out.